Hey guys, before we get this thing started, just wanted to toss a few notes at you really quick. First of all, if you like the content we provide and want to hear more of it, we could really use your support. Now, I'm not going to go into a full ad or anything here because I kind of think I talk a little bit more about it in this episode. But anyway, please consider supporting us. We're on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Technobabble Podcast. There's actually some really cool rewards you can get if you help us out. So go read and hear and look at all of that over there. Also, we're on iTunes, so subscribe to us on iTunes and never miss another episode. You can get it on whatever device you want as soon as it's released. All right, all that shit out of the way. Now, this episode you're about to hear was broadcasted live on Tuesday, April 14th. That's 2015 for those of you listening to this podcast in the distant future. Anyway, it was broadcasted live on Twitch by my good friend and sometimes co-host, Bubbernaut of CritConfirm.com. If you want to watch the VOD and see our pretty little faces and hear this episode in kind of a raw, unedited version, you can go over there and search it out on his Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Bubbernaut_CCE. Now, I told you guys that this wasn't going to be released until Tuesday, April 21st, but I changed my mind. I wanted to give it to you a little early, so here it is. Now, don't worry, you'll still get another podcast on the 21st because I'm fucking awesome like that. So make sure you come back for that. So that's like really 2 podcasts in 1 week. Really 3 if you count the extra I did a few days ago. Anyway, we're releasing more and more content all the time, so just make sure you keep an eye out for that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Technobabble Podcast where Bubbernaut and I talk about, well, pretty much a lot of random shit. Just listen. It's fun stuff, trust me.
Welcome to the Technobabble Podcast. Enjoy!
Welcome to the live edition of the Technobabble Podcast, everyone. And look who it is. Most of you know him already, but co-hosting with me today is the Bubbernaut. What's up, Bub?
Same old.
Great. So here's the deal. If you've missed part of this live show or you want to hear it again in the future, maybe you're getting in here late, we're going to be doing this. This will be actually uploaded. The audio version of it will be uploaded on Tuesday. So next Tuesday, a week from today. So if you miss it, you can check it out there.
Very, very, very cool. So what's going on with you, Kirk? What's new in what's been?
What's new with me? All right. Well, aside from if you try to visit my website right now, it's down, and a lot of phone calls have to be made, and bitching has to be done. But I'm going to hopefully get that fixed very soon.
Certainly.
In the meantime, if you want to check out the rest of my content, there are plenty of other places to do it. You can view us on Libsyn, and the address for hold on, I'm trying to find exactly where it is because I don't want to give you the wrong information. Well, just go to Libsyn and search the Technobabble Podcast. You can't. We're the only ones there. But we're also on iTunes. Search us out on iTunes, and our RSS feed. That's a tongue twister.
It is a bit.
The RSS feed is technobabblecast.libsyn.com/RSS, and you can also just go to technobabblecast.libsyn.com too. So I know, and if you can't get to our website, keep trying. It will eventually come up, I promise. But until then, if you want to hear what we've got to say, one of those 3 mediums would be the best. And now this live stream, if we keep doing these, you can watch the VODs here on Bubbernaut's channel anytime you want, I'm assuming. So.
Yeah, I'm going to try my best to convince Kirk to transition these to like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, one of those days, whatever works best for him and myself, obviously. As you guys all know, it seems like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays before 6 p.m., it's kind of like chill time. And that's actually the best here is trying to get as much as possible going on here for us. So having that 2-hour downtime would be really good. It'll give us an opportunity to kind of get to put out our feelers and reach out to as many people and create as much content as we possibly can. Speaking of content, Kirk, you have been brewing up something.
Yeah.
And catching here and there around the the old Crit Confirm world. Tell me a bit more about this project of yours.
The radio drama, I'm assuming, is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Usually you don't release this kind of information so early, and I hope I don't get burned for it, but it's so fun I have to talk about it. Okay, so I talked with Cody, most of you guys know as Teaspoon, and we were talking about I had this idea that I wanted to do some sort of radio drama. And he's like, dude, I had the exact same idea, and we talked about it, and we're like, okay, I think we should actually work together on this. And so he said, cool, but he was busy. He's got a lot of stuff doing, working with you guys at Crit Confirm, and he's been backed up. So I said, don't worry about it, man. I'll take the lead on it for now, and I'll keep you informed. And so that he agreed to do that. Well, I reached out to these guys, and again, since everything's not completely 100% in stone yet, everyone's on board, but nothing official has actually been done yet. I'm not going to reveal their names, but we probably will do that pretty soon. There are a couple of independent comic book artists or distributors, and they do a bunch of shit with comic books and writing and things like that. So I reached out to those guys, and I said, hey, man, I got this idea of this thing I want to do, this kind of radio drama like in the era of the 30s and 40s kind of deal, when people would gather around and listen to the radio. And they said, and I said, if you got any stories, or maybe even if you want to write a story, but honestly, if you have any stories that we could possibly have the rights to use for this broadcast, then we would love that. And they responded with like open arms. They were so happy to hear about it, and they wanted to participate as much as possible, to include even writing the screenplay and being involved in all that. And so that's great. They're gonna help us out with that. And just a little teaser here. If you're a fan of like detective kind of stories and superheroes and the paranormal, then I think this is going to be for you. But we'll give you more about that in the future.
That's really, really cool, man. We've got a lot of things brewing over here in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, tell me about Crit Confirm. Last time I had you on my show about a month or so ago, and you guys were doing pretty well. What's it been like since then?
Well, we, as most of you guys know, we tackled Indiana Comic-Con. We were invited to our first live event to put on a charity show, and we decided that we were going to take the 3-day stint and try to make it as fun as possible, because this was our first real time trying to get out into the public and doing something more than just podcasting. And we have something that we call the Endless Dungeon event, which is something that I ran last year, I believe in, I want to say August, maybe October. It really took off. We were trying to fund as much money as we possibly can into the Extra Life charity. And through the process and through the power of donation, people can influence and impact the events that transpire in a live tabletop dungeon event. And I bring in players to try to survive as much as they possibly can. But, well, I mean, the audience really is the people with the power there. The audience basically plays this many-headed god of chaos, and they can either throw in monsters, or they can throw in, banes or blights, blessings, boons, whatever it is that they want to throw into the game. We can make it happen, and it's all through the power of donation. And we managed to raise, I believe, in a 12-hour period, we funded $1,800.
That's really fucking cool, though.
Yeah, it was huge. It was very huge for us, especially since it was our first time doing anything like that. And we decided that we were going to take this to Comic-Con, and we approached them, and they're like, this sounds amazing. We're fully prepared to give you all of the things that you need. So it took a little spending on our end. We had to buy all new equipment, which actually most of the stream here funded. But we probably pumped out about $1,000 in equipment and new promotional material. And following that, we did a Friday, just fun time event. It was basically a series of D20 debuts where we take fictional characters from comic books, movies, books, cartoons, video games, and we turn them into playable characters. And we had the audience participate in that. It was huge. People absolutely loved it. Our attendance was kind of nuts, especially since we didn't really have much in the way of advertisement. And Saturday, we decided that we were going to tackle the Endless Dungeon, which also, again, was very poorly advertised, but in I think it was in 14 hours we raised $1,800 again.
Wow.
And that was from the beginning, from the very beginning of the year. So we know that we're going to be doing this again twice more online, and at least once more live at a future convention here in Indianapolis, which is pretty exciting because when we found out how much they paid for the spot to put us there, it's way more than we make in the next 6 months, maybe even 12 months for some of us. The spot cost the convention like $25,000. And
you guys had a pretty good show out there, right?
Oh yeah, it was absolutely insane. People loved it. I was pretty excited. I mean, we got a lot of we got our first ad spots for our website. That's crickconfirm.com if you didn't know. We did a lot of reviews. We made a lot of connections, and we're getting invited to more conventions to do the same thing. And it's all for charity. Like, none of this is sinking into our pockets. So what's more exciting and fulfilling than doing something you love and raising money for children that could potentially open up the doors for a greater future of tomorrow? And that's what we're all about here.
And yeah, exactly. And it all stems from doing the things that make you happy and doing
That's
the
right.
things. And that's it. That's the message I try to embark on people. Speaking of your little Crit Confirm, your Endless Dungeon thing, I had a chance to sit down and listen to some of the clips you guys had from it. And I got into it a little bit. It was really fun, and I wish I'd have listened to it more. But the question I kind of have about it is, like, and obviously you raised a lot of money doing it, but it was, for me as a listener, I guess if I was there, I would have understood it a little bit better. But
Sure.
When people could come up and they could donate to either inhibit or to either challenge a character or to give them an aid. Just give me an example. Like, what was the craziest thing that kind of happened? Though you were like, wow, geez, okay, there we go.
So the craziest thing that happened, in my personal opinion, was someone decided to start a bidding war for a spot at the table. And that's difficult because you can basically come right up to our table and say that for $50 you can kill a player and usurp their position. You take their spot at the table, which is really cool, and that's new and nobody else has done that before. So for $50 to the charity, you kill a player in some crazy, fantastical way, and you take their position. You come in at their table. And I think someone decided that, like, on the fly, they were going to start a bidding war. The guy was so happy with what was going on at the table for him in the game that he was intending to outbid them so he could stay in the game longer. So it started out, he came up and he was like, I'm going to put down 50. I want that guy dead so I can take his spot. And that guy found out about it. He's like, I'll throw down 60 so I can stay up here. And it ended up going up to like $195.
Holy crap.
To keep this guy at the table. But it was absolutely insane. Some of the things that were being said, like somebody paid to put in the giant chicken from Family Guy.
Oh, sweet.
To fight them, which I turned it into an owlbear, which was a lot of fun. Another thing that was thrown in was, let's see.
So people are constantly coming in and out of this game.
Oh, yeah. Consistently. I think we managed to run through like 16, maybe 17 players over the course of 14 hours. And we have these sheets that were designed to give people an idea of what you can actually put into the game. And I call them challenge tiers. And once you unlock a specific challenge, it puts new equipment into the game. And it's things like Indiana Jones's hat and the Master Sword and all of these different things that you would encounter that people, like, they've idolized and they've embolized into their brains, and they know that's such iconic features and items. And we put these up there so people could start doing things with them. Like, one, are you familiar with the Portal gun? Have you ever played Portal?
From Portal, yeah, I got you.
Yes. We put the Portal gun in the game. And it's so much fun finding out ways that people can abuse the Portal gun. So somebody decided that they were going to pay to put an evil Moogle Knight from Final Fantasy on top of a chocobo to come in and kill a player. Well, this particular chocobo was lined up in an enormous spider's web, and when they freed it, it happened to fall into the player's into a portal hole, and there was a portal hole just above it so they could reach through and cut it free. So it just kept building up speed, momentum as it's passing through these portal holes. But the spider comes out and decides that it's going to attack the players because you're wrecking my web, bro. I'm going to do something about that. So as they're fighting this, the player's like, I've got an idea. I'm going to cast a new portal behind the spider, and when this chocobo comes through, it's going to obliterate the spider. So it lines up just in front of the spider, and the spider is rearing up to make an attack on a player on the ground in front of him. And as soon as it comes down, he casts the portal. Well, the spider's crouched down on the ground. The portal opens up. The chocobo comes through and blows this man's head off. And it immediately killed him right there. And those are the kind of things that you have to do on the fly. Is like you have to prepare for.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, nobody can prepare for portal guns. You know what I mean?
No, you really can't. It was difficult, but it was fun and very fulfilling considering, the subject matter. It's what I do, man. It's what I do for a living. I love tabletop events. And
yeah, you're a great storyteller and a great personality, entertainer. I do. Like, that's one of the cool things about, like, that inspires me about you. I wish I kind of had a little bit more of that myself, but you're definitely a great storyteller.
Thank you very much.
Actually, we were talking about this earlier, and I asked you off of, on Skype. I said, hey, but I have this question I want to ask you, and I asked you, and you're like, I think you're opening up a can of worms there, Kirk. We're gonna need to talk about that later on. So let's talk about it. Why not? My question was, and if you guys in chat want to throw in your 2 cents, we'd be happy to hear it too. The question is Bruce Wayne Batman, or is Batman Bruce Wayne? What is your take on that, Bub?
Okay, all right. So I feel like it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B in this particular situation. Everybody's come to love and know Batman, right? Everybody knows exactly what he is capable of. Cape Crusader, Alfred, and all of Gotham, the whole 9 yards. I feel like everybody recognizes that in the DC universe, all it takes is one bad day, right? It takes one bad day to turn someone into a villain or a hero, because that's largely what it is. I mean, as we've seen it over comics from time, Batman had one bad day. It turned him into the Cape Crusader. The Joker, as depicted in a various amount of comics, I think it's the Killing Joke off the top of my head, maybe the Killing Joke.
He had a lot of bad days.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's believed to be that he's a bad day. In the Long Halloween, there's a really, really bad day for Harvey Dent, and it creates these heroes or these villains. And I believe that I think that Bruce was Batman all along. He just needed a reason to be propelled there. And I feel like Batman is its own figure. It's what is the saying? It's like it's the hero the city needed, or something to that effect. Where it's
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't remember either, but
well, it's all.
Basically, I'm the hero. I'm the city. I'm the hero the city needed, not the hero the city wanted, or something like that.
Something to that effect. Yeah. And I feel like he was always that. I mean, he was stuck in a position of power. Everybody knows that the Waynes at Wayne Manor, they're quite wealthy. They're quite wealthy.
You think everybody put that together, like Bruce Wayne equals Batman? It's kind of like Clark Kent with the glasses, like this guy with billions of dollars.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like everybody knows that, like, particularly with Superman, I feel like everybody is aware. It's like, come on, man, you're just way too perfect in this situation to not be Superman. And I read a comic that was a joke. It's something like who was it? It was someone talking to Lex Luthor. It might have been it was just insert random villain here. He was like, Lex, I found out some unique information. I know exactly who Superman is. He's Clark Kent. He works at the Daily Bugle, or whatever it is. And he's like, yeah. So everybody knows that. He's like, well, now we can attack him. He's like, he's still Superman. What does it matter? It's like, that's the thing. It's even in the height of the situation, like, Bruce Wayne is still Batman. I feel like people are just choosing to ignore the information that's very obviously on the table, and I don't understand what that is. I mean, all the villains definitely know that it's Bruce Wayne. They go out of their way to consistently screw him every time that they can. And it's not like they really want to defame Bruce Wayne whatsoever. It's just they want to beat Batman at his prime.
So I think what you're probably trying to say is, okay, so, I mean, he was born as a child. He was born Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah.
He didn't even become Batman until much later in life.
Yeah.
But you're saying that you think at his heart he was always designed to be Batman, or destined to be Batman.
To a degree. I mean, I feel like he didn't start becoming Batman until later after his training. As everybody sees it in, the movies and the comic books, he went through a series of events which pushed him along the lines of, like, backyard brawling and into, like, fighting and stuff like that, which he later got trained by what thing in the movies, like Ra's al Ghul, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he was going down that route anyway. It's like, what does a man need when he has what does he want when he has everything given to him already? So I feel like if I was the billionaire and I had everything that I wanted and needed, but there was no excitement in my life, what would I do? And if I could get away with putting on a mask and going out and beating the shit out of people that were just wrongdoers all the time, I think I would. And I feel like he was destined to go along that route anyway. It's just now he has a sense of justice due to the fact that a bad guy wrecked his life as a child. Well, I mean, what do you think? What is your opinion of it all?
Well, I mean, I agree. The thing, I guess, the big thing about Batman and the reason he has such like a hard time with the police versus, well, I guess Commissioner Gordon's like the only person that he can relate to and talk to. But I think even some of the public, well, think about it like if there was a superhero such as Batman today, quote unquote superhero, like a masked villain, and there are stories about this, but I'm talking about like a real dude, a real like masked hero who went around saving the city and doing things that the cops overlooked or the cops didn't do, or maybe the cops couldn't do. He's still a civilian, right? That's harming, possibly killing, but definitely doing all that kind of stuff. Do you think that if Batman really existed in the real world, that the police would have such a trouble about this guy and be like, look, you shouldn't do that. This is our job, or what do you think actually about that? Do you think it's portrayed in the comics that way just for dramatic suspense?
I feel like it is to a degree. Like, the Gotham City police are kind of a joke. They're kind of a joke in all situations because they're just, aside, like, supervillains aside, all right? Supervillains aside, they struggle with every common thief, everyone. They just struggle with them all the way around, and I feel like that's probably, I don't know, maybe it's just because they have limited training or just because they're written that way. I don't know, but I feel like they consistently struggle, and Batman is just there to pick up on all these petty crimes. But Gotham isn't just limited to Batman. As we know it, we've seen how many heroes now circumvent the DC globe.
Well, that's true, right? Yeah.
We've got the Flash, we've got Hawkman, we have Superman.
That just leads you to believe the Gotham City Police Department really is pretty bad.
Yeah, no, I think they're pretty terrible. I feel like they think like they're like, oh, that Batman he took our jobs, but really when it comes down to it, they're quite grateful that he's there because they know that they can sleep easier at night knowing that there's a fucking crazed lunatic that's circling the city dressed in gray and a bat hat that's beating the shit out of criminals. I mean, at least that's my opinion. People could disagree with me, but it's whatever on that situation.
No, I think Bruce Wayne became Batman, right? He made the choice to become Batman, and he had a lot of reasons, right? But once he became Batman, I guess getting back to the root of the question, once he became Batman, I think he was Batman, and Bruce Wayne became his alter ego. That's my answer to the question.
So you think all along he was Batman, and Bruce Wayne was just it's his real mask?
Well, right. I think he always had Batman inside of him, but when all of that shit started happening, his parents dying, and him realizing that, the Gotham was corrupt, and something needed to be done about it, and he made the choice to do it. As soon as he made that choice, as soon as he took that step, then I don't think there was any going back for him. I know there's all the rewrites and Batman Forever or Batman Beyond, whatever they are. There's all that stuff. But in the original world of Batman, I think once he became Batman, he was Batman, and he was no longer Bruce Wayne. He just used Bruce Wayne as a way to get by and run his company.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a lot easier, and I feel like we have such like a huge influx of DC related shows coming out right now too. Like, have you caught Green Arrow or The Flash or Daredevil now on Netflix?
Daredevil now on Netflix. I saw that. I was flipping through Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm super excited about it. I did watch a little bit of Green Arrow. Wasn't a huge fan, but I appreciate it. Right? probably not something I'm going to keep watching.
My wife says that these shows, like watching The Flash and watching Green Arrow, she says that it's like the soap operas. It's like, what is it? All My Children or General Hospital, but for men, because there's all of these dramatic plot lines that are going on, and there might be 30 seconds of fighting in every show that every man, like they assume that they like them, but all in all, it's like it's it's the General Hospital for men. That's what this is, and that makes me laugh because down to it really is like that's what it is. It's the dramatic story that we desire, but it involves some kind of hero, some mask, and it just cracks me up that she would say that. And I mean, I couldn't agree more. But it's still exciting because these are things that I've read for a long time in comic books. I mean, I don't know if you're a big comic book reader yourself, but I am, and it's interesting to see some of these takes. Just to watch, like, I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point, guys, that the nerd world isn't secluded to comic book stores and dank dungeons where people stink and they're residing in their mother's basement. It is at the forefront of pop culture today.
In fact, it's like the number. I don't know exactly how high, but I want to venture to say The Big Bang Theory, a huge show on TV. Yeah. Nothing about nerd culture. I mean, everything is nerd culture, and it's like one of the biggest shows.
Yeah.
And even like some of the cool nerd icons we all like look up to, like Leonard Nimoy appeared before he passed. Kevin Smith, Will Wheaton's a big guest. Like, so it's coming around.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see. I don't necessarily want to say like how the tides have turned, the tables have flipped, and you now see that the nerd world is actually getting its due credit. I don't feel like we ever lost credit. It's just it wasn't viewed as popular, and
right.
Now today it is popular, and it's kind of weird because I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit older, and back when I was reading comics in school, people just thought it was weird. Like who the hell reads comics? But it's exciting. It's a life outside of the norm. And I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons that I jumped into tabletop role playing, man. Is you get to break the norms of the dregs of society. You get to break from your bills, your nagging girlfriend, whatever it is that you absolutely have, and you come into a game and you
become someone else, right?
And you
get
something
to be a hero
different.
or a villain.
You get to be a hero, exactly, a hero or a villain, and you defeat things. Like you rise to the paramount of your momentum of like happiness and thrills and success, and you create something more that you just didn't have before. And that's really incredible to me that you can do that all in the forefront of imagination, because where else can you really do that? I can't immediately think of anything off the top of my head.
I mean, the only other thing I could even think of would be storytelling via writing short stories, novels, comics, things like that. But that's still, you're not, that's just a story that you have to live or examine in your imagination.
Right.
It's not something you get to actually do.
Right. Man, it just makes me want to role play now. Speaking of role playing.
Speaking of role playing.
I've got some things coming up, and I need some of your excellent skill here. I mean, as everybody can see, if you peer around these lovely boxes, this is all created by the hands of Kirk here. He's quite the graphic artist himself, and
that's right.
We here at Kirk Confirm, and also here on the stream, we're trying to do more. We want to get into more role playing, and I'm trying to open up my play area, because right now I'm doing a lot of epic fantasy, and that's really cool because everybody's like, Lord of the Rings is kick-ass, and I really want to be a dwarf and slay dragons and plunder dungeons and wreck liches, and that's cool.
Wreck bitches?
Close. Wreck liches. And that's cool. Like, you can do that, but I have other desires that I want to get into, because there's nothing wrong with epic fantasy, but I need a modern game. I need a future punk game. I need Star Wars. I want Pokemon. Like, I want the works, guys.
Well, you just threw like Star Wars and Pokemon and Cyberpunk all in the same sentence. Tell me what's going on.
Okay, so like right now, I have something that I'm calling the streamer game. All right, in this streamer game, I've designed this particular story in mind that I will be inviting streamers that have equal popularity as myself, and they will be joining me here at the table, and we'll be trying to create a nice little community betwixt all of our viewers. It's a way to sort of filter viewers into each of us, but at the same time build a nice common community, because I mean that's what every streamer wants. We want more viewers, but at the same time we want to be friends with everybody. I think that's part of the reason that we do this. Secondly, it's exciting all the way around. I mean, why not? I love telling stories, and I'm going to keep doing it probably for the rest of my life. So what's wrong with having more people listening to my stories? Can't think of anything. So that's one game right there. That is another high fantasy game. Another game that I'm trying to run in the immediate future is, aside from my World of Darkness, zombie games that are occurring now. It seems like almost bi-weekly at this point. But I want to run a Pokemon tabletop game. And a lot of people are like, I don't know, man. Like, Pokemon is kind of its own thing. How do you get into something like that? And it's really not that hard to think about. When you have played Pokemon since it's been introduced into the States, the easiest way to explain it is those Pokemon that you've caught, that you've known, you've loved, you've learned their movesets, all these different traits, how they level up, they're things that have to be acknowledged, okay? And when you acknowledge these things, you've completely fallen out of screen, Kirk. Just a heads up.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go. It's fine. When you acknowledge these things, in this show, in the actual series, Ash Ketchum, the main character, he acknowledges that Pokemon level up. He stated in several episodes that his Pidgey has reached level 17, that it's nearing an area where it can evolve into Pidgeotto. So they've accepted that levels are a thing.
Right.
So that in and of itself makes it a role-playing game. When they have acknowledged that there's a leveling system to increasing your Pokemon's capability, that in and of itself is a role-playing game.
Sure.
Now, to put realism on it, this is the area that I love so much about it, realism, because there's nothing more exciting than immersing someone and getting them into the feel of it, but making it real makes them feel the game. They experience it on a new level. Immersion is so important to me. So, you have a Pokemon. We'll say Pikachu, because everybody knows.
Yeah.
Pikachu can use, say, Thunderbolt. In the games, when you use Thunderbolt on a Pokemon, it would deal X physical or X special attack damage, and that Pokemon would lose points from its health point bar. Well, in the actual tabletop game, when a Pokemon uses Thunderbolt, it calls down a bolt of lightning from the sky, and it strikes an area. It's an area of effect. If a Pokemon uses the ability Earthquake, it literally summons tremors from the ground that disrupts the Earth in its mantle. It starts destroying the Earth around it. Hyper Beam can blow through buildings, set trees on fire. There are a huge array of abilities.
It's almost a tabletop game that hasn't even been turned into a tabletop game.
Well, see, that's the thing, because Game Freak and Pokemon, they aren't going to sell that out at all. They don't want to do it.
Right.
You know how Nintendo is. They like total control over everything.
Of course.
There's been a handful of people that have leaked around the internet their own formats, their own tabletop formats that they've created. And they're super exciting. I've had the pleasure of trying out a couple of them, and they've done a lot of work to make this thing come alive. I've got printed books over here that I printed off myself, and you're looking at like the 800 to 1200 pages area of learning, like just getting this information down on page. And they've gone through a lot to try to bring this to us. And learning it is exciting. It takes a lot of work, but you can bring forth the storyline. And like the greatest thing about it is, did you ever have like a Tamagotchi as a kid?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
I
used to play with it on the bus all the time to and from school.
And, like it was absolutely awful because the thing couldn't talk. It just squeaked. It shit everywhere. You had to clean up after it, give it apple.
But it was a lot of fun back then.
It was a lot of fun. And then Pokemon hit, and it kind of revolutionized that whole world, and everybody got really excited about it. So what I think is really kind of incredible is that you can bring that to the forefront of imagination. That as much as it sucks, is I have to role play all of the Pokemon. All 718 of the Pokemon. When you ask it questions, they understand you. They just can't communicate back with you. That's the difficult thing. And it's like owning a pet, but the pet happens to be able to psychically.
Your Pokemon sound index better be pretty large.
It's intense. We're talking like since 90.
Okay, so do a let me okay.
Oh, here we go.
Do an Onyx. Do an Onyx.
Well, see, that's the thing. Onyx is just a giant rock snake, and it just goes. That's all it does. Like, it doesn't say its name. Well, most of these Pokemon, they just communicate with noises, and that's it. They say noises, and people just assume that that's its name.
Right.
So, Marowak, that's all it would say. So people are like, that's got to be its name. It just says Marowak, so it's got to be its fucking name. But yeah, and that's what people. They get caught up about it, and they're the ones that some Pokemon have telepathic abilities, so they don't even say their name. They look at you and they can communicate telepathically. So that's the cool thing about it. Is at that point, if they have, take for example, if they have an Alakazam, I don't have to go Alakazam. I don't have to do that. I can just look at you and be like, bro, this is fucked.
You know, those were three of my favorite Pokemon growing up because I was always into Magic at an early age. For you, those of you who don't know, I manage a Magic store. Like, that's my real-time job. But Abracadabra and Alakazam, those were always, like, I loved having those guys just for that little personal reason of mine. But anyway.
It's just wild. And, like, that's one of the games that I want to get into. I'm learning Star Wars, which is always exciting. And I have what I'm calling the premiere game coming up. I'm inviting very specific people into it. That is a role-play heavy game. It's difficult to explain. Very difficult.
This is the one you tried to explain to me.
Yes.
And now okay.
Yes. Yeah, this is the one that I've tried explaining to you. And I've had a lot of difficulty explaining it. It's a story that I've been dreaming of for a very long time that I think I'm more than capable of bringing life to it. It's just that I need to find a way to explain it to draw people in. Because essentially, in the story, the easiest way that I can explain it is this. It is modern day, it is current day world, fast forward 20 years. Now, in that 20-year span, every adult has died. All that is left is children. That's it. So something has occurred which killed everyone over the age of like 18. Just to give you a vagary, an example, to give you an idea. Everyone over the age of 18 has passed away. And probably a little younger than that, too.
Would this be something, was it kind of like, did it all happen immediately, or did these people gradually just start dying off?
Oh, it all happened immediately. Some kind of a virus or something like that happened, and everyone over a very specific age had passed away. And it's very much in the assimilation of like Lord of the Flies. It's very similar to that, but it's a post-world event where, when all things considered, it's like all of the mechanics, all of the doctors, like all of the beauticians, all of the people in the world that have skills, they can no longer pass these traits down because they've all died. So it's leaving what we have in the modern world. We have books, we have videos, things like that. That's all we have left to learn from, but we don't have electricity anymore. We don't have a way to pull out our fossil fuels. We don't have a way to refine our foods. Like, we're running on a limited food source. You figure after a few years, canned goods, things like that, they're completely sparse. People are back to an age where they have to hunt for their belongings. They have to. But
you're also at a world now. I'm imagining. Let's just assume that there's like almost 7 billion people in the world. Let's just say even 6 billion, and about half of those are over the age of 18. I don't know the numbers, but let's just assume. So you're dealing with half of the world's population already, though, right?
Yes. Half of the world's population would be deceased. Yeah, I mean, hit me with some questions so I can better explain it. It's kind of nuts to think of because I have a million things going on in my head all at once.
Right. Well, one of the things that you stuck. Okay, so I can get my head around. Okay, like suddenly within a matter of a day or two, half of the world is dead, and the only people that are still remaining are teenagers and younger, basically.
Yes.
And obviously, even a lot of those may die just from lack of experience and just the not being able to survive, right, without an adult.
You've got like lack of nutrition, lack of shelter.
Right. But then you have the strong people, the ones who are able to kind of, if you will, revamp the world and start over, and those are the people I'm assuming the stories kind of be told about or around.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. It a lot of the story revolves around the bullies, the people that grew up and they developed existential friends networks that grew up into a position of power. These are your essential mayors, the people that decided to take over protection of an area or a town, or anyone in that very particular situation and position. Now here comes the kicker. This has all happened, and 20 years to the date of this event, people start developing powers. Much in the sense of like Heroes from the television show Heroes.
Right. Okay. And good show for the first season, at least.
Yeah. No, it was fun, and it inspired a lot of things. But yeah, it's very much 20 years to the date. people have started developing powers. Some of them are a bit more subtle than others. You know, it could be something as simple as being able to telekinetically move anything below 5 pounds. Some people have the ability to compress their body to fit through cracks in walls. Other people have the ability to completely encoat their body in flames.
You have to have a hot chick that has the ability to recover from physical injury.
Do I?
That's all
I
I'm
have to have
saying.
that.
You have that. That was my favorite part of Heroes.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Yeah, it's pretty exciting all the way around when you think about it, because it brings an entire new element to the role play. Because people are, they're struggling to survive in this world where they have nothing, and it pretty much relies on who you know and how strong you are. And then you start throwing powers into the mix, and those weaklings that were dying before because they got picked on or because they were taken advantage of, they are now assuming roles or positions of power because they have abilities that they didn't have before.
Well, and it offers for a bunch of different character classes as well.
Yes. Just like E-Man says, some people can grow fingernails real fast. I don't know how that can be utilized, but I'm sure we could figure out a way to use it.
Right.
But
trust me, there are players out there who will figure it out.
Yeah, and a lot of people ask, it's like, okay, so you've got this world, it's modern day, it's very much like Earth, it's like U.S. I'm like, no, it is the U.S. I'm actually using the United States map that I have mapped out very particular events and locations, and I have the story prepared, and I want to make it happen. I'm trying to bring it to life, and it's not, it's no longer learning how to speak like a Scotsman. It's no longer learning how to speak with a high British accent. It's all about speaking with today's accents. I can speak like a man from Indiana. I can speak like a guy from Jersey, from Brooklyn. I can speak in Ebonics, and people get it because it is modern day. It is very much.
I'm just trying to think of you speaking in Ebonics. That's funny.
It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. I can pull a lot of things off. But yeah, it's super exciting to me, and I get wrapped up in it all the time trying to explain how it works. But all in all, it's super easy, and I encourage everyone to sit down at my table to try to watch or to partake in the event. That being said, I need your skills because I need to bring life to this visually. And right now, I've got nothing visually to bring this to life. Now, what can you help me out here?
Yeah, well, one of the things, and I, again, if I'm going to be vague here, and if I start saying anything like spoiler alertish, hold on a second, just drop something. If I start saying anything that's kind of like you don't want out there yet, just kind of stop me. But you mentioned a couple of things. One, well, you already just mentioned the powers and the kind of
Yes.
super. I don't know if they're genetic or if it has something to do with this big apocalyptic event that's causing them to have those powers. Maybe maybe you don't know, or maybe you don't want to share it yet. That's fine. But I think at least off the record, I should know that. It might help out. But one thing that stood out to me among all the test tubes and the DNA strands and things like that, when I think of regular people kind of mutating, I'm seeing like a lot of concrete and maybe even skyscrapers that
Sure.
are torn apart and blood
Right.
and stuff like that. But one thing you mentioned was a group of people formed a group called SHIELD, was it?
Yes, SHIELD, the Agents of SHIELD, yes.
SHIELD, and I'm kind of feeling like if there was some way we could design a logo for this organization that could almost be the centerpiece kind of for some of this art, you know what I mean? Like it's something very vague, and unless you kind of knew what it was, you'd be like, what is that? But it's just interesting enough for you to say, hey, and then when you learn about it, it all makes sense, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe something along those lines?
I'll see what I can do in the way of drumming up some imagery to help kind of formulate a figurehead image.
Right, because I could definitely all day long throw a background together that kind of is grungy and things like that. But I feel like you want something, you want something extra. You definitely need something special, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as people can tell here, I personally like the image that we are using currently to support the live stream, but I don't know, I don't know if everybody else likes it. I dig it. I think it looks really cool, and I think you can bring a certain vibrance, a certain life to it that I would much rather have out of other individuals. I mean, I would much rather have you doing it than
Right.
some schmo off the street, just because all around it, I'm quite happy with what you're capable of. I
appreciate it. I do. Thank you.
I just want
Art is just, by the way, I guess we could go ahead and throw this out there. I do graphical digital art, logos, streaming banners, content overlays, web YouTubes, banners, whatever you need. And in the case of that, I do provide that work, and obviously I do charge for it. It's a respectable fee, and I try to work with people on something they can afford. But I do kind of have my bottom limit. But at any rate, if that's something you guys are interested in and are serious about, then shoot me an email, guys. You can email me thetechnobabblepodcast.com or the Technobabble at shit. The Technobabble podcast. That's not it. Let's start over. Here, just use my personal email. It's drewccu, drewccu @gmail.com. Or if you have a question about the show more specifically, it could be thetechnobabblepodcast @gmail.com. And we can talk about all that if you guys are interested.
Oh, so going at shit.com is not really where I want to go to.
Right. Sorry. No, but to get back to where you were saying, the artwork and all that stuff. Yeah, it's something like the shield thing. Like I have in my head, kind of like it's almost in a way like Captain America's shield. Like as simple as it is, it's kind of like the brand, the symbol that you see, and when you see it, you recognize that with the genre. And I kind of feel like maybe there's something like that we could create with your world here. You know what I mean? Like a logo even.
Sure. That shouldn't be a problem. I'll see what kind of work I can do to drum something up. Like right now, time's a little rough on me because I'm sure, like I told you earlier, something's come up in my personal life, and my wife and I have to move from our current location, and we're not entirely sure when it's going to be happening. It could be within the next 15 days. It could be within the next 45 days. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen, honestly. I know that we're going to be busy between moving and Crick Confirm and the stream. Things are looking a little hairy at the moment. So, I'll do the best I can to get you some more details to work with. Sure, man. Email me anytime. And take your time, too, because, I want to help you as fast as you can, but if you need, you got shit going on, you definitely need to take care of that. That comes first. Right. Now, okay, so I guess a couple more things here real quick, but we're starting to come up on time, and after we talk about these next few things, we'll probably need to be wrapping up pretty soon, at least for this broadcast. I'm sure, I don't know if Bubbernaut, if you have any plans to continue streaming for today or not, but so I was reading a few stories online, just little quick things to read, and I come across a few things, and I thought, you know what? It'd be fun to toss a couple of these ideas at a friend and kind of see what kind of develops. So, for example, a young boy obsessed with comic books meets the man who writes his favorite time travel adventures comic book. The old man tells the boy a secret. All of the stories are true. Now, if that was your theme, if that was your basis, kind of like briefly, what kind of story could you create off of something like that? Do you have any ideas off of that? All of the stories were true. Yeah, like you meet this guy, like if you met your favorite hero and he's told you that everything he wrote about was true, what would be your reaction and what would you do? My reaction would probably be to figure out, like it would have to be one of two things. If it was myself today or myself as a child, because if it was me as a child, I would likely be like, what? And I would try to find a way to break into his establishment to find out the secret. How did he go about all of these time traveling ways, which could intend to bring about a whole series of events, like Lemony Snicket style. But if it was me today, I would definitely try to I would talk to him more about it. I would try to learn as much as I possibly can. Is he retired? Is he dying? Because usually people don't usually say things until they're on their death. It's like, I have one regret. I'm actually from space. Well, first of all, what makes you so special that, you're right. Like, this guy who's kept this secret his whole life, basically, finally sees this kid and is like, look, boy, all right, look, I know you're a fan just like everyone else, but I got to tell you something. They're all true. Personally, I'd probably think the guy was crazy and might even call the cops, but maybe he was trying to lure me into his rapist fan or something. Not the rape fan. No, Okay, one more. This is actually a pretty good one, I think. When a time traveler jumps 10 days into the future, he finds that no one remembers him. His house, his car, and any device that he ever had
or any evidence rather that he ever lived is gone. To you, like if someone said, write me a screenplay about that or write me a story about that, explain that shit. Explain how in 10 days no existence of him ever existing is there.
Oh,
what
man.
would you come up with?
It would be a roller coaster of emotions. It really depends on the individual. Really, it does, because if it was someone like myself, again, to put myself in the pilot seat, there would be a lot of things that I don't know if I could handle, like the idea of not knowing my wife and why she wouldn't know me. Or maybe I do know my wife and she's just not familiar. It's like, who the hell are you? You know, that kind of thing. But if it was from someone who wasn't married, who didn't really have much going for them, and maybe they were just in maybe I would write from the series of a man who was coming from a world where he had debt and he owed a lot of prolific individuals money, and he's taking advantage of this. Like, he's sort of using it as a scapegoat so he can start over, get a new life going. I think that would be really cool. You know, get a guy that's down on his luck, that people know him of being either shady or unreliable, and he advances 10 days into the future and nobody knows of him. All of his debts are gone. And I would try to, have an up and coming story of an individual like that. I think
like he gets to start all over, right?
Yeah, that would be exciting for me to read. I would read something like that.
It's almost got kind of a Born Identity kind of effect to it in a way, doesn't it?
Sort of does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I just want to ask, since we're doing a live stream for the first time, we got Bub's wonderful viewers here. Does anyone have any questions? It could be about the things we talked about today, or anything in the future, or anything like that. Anybody got any things they want to ask?
I certainly believe they have some things to ask. If they don't, well, then I'll give them a moment to come up with something, because we've got quite a few people watching right now.
Yeah, that's no problem. In the meantime, while we're waiting, I guess we can go ahead and do some shout-outs, Bub. Just for my listeners, if you want to plug your website. I've plugged you plenty of times, but
definitely. Anything
you wanna throw out there for them?
Certainly. You guys can check out critconfirm.com. That is the host location of my podcast and all the other nerd things that we do. It's going to be going under some renovations very soon. We're happy with the way that it looks, but it's time to update because we're getting some new members. Check out my stream at twitch.tv/Bubbernaut_CCE. That's BUBBERNAUT_CCE. And that's the easiest way to get hold of me. You guys can also check me out on Twitter. Just search Bubbernaut, and you'll likely find me. Bubbernaut_CCE. Go ahead and plug yourself, Kirk, so people can follow you on Twitter and whatnot.
Sure, no problem. Yeah. First of all, like I said at the beginning, my website's still down. Trust me, I'm working as hard as I can to get it fixed. It's a pain in the ass, and I'm a little upset about it. Touchy subject, but when that is available, and it should be very soon, the website is technobabblepodcast.com. All of our content is there. All of our episodes are posted there. But in the event that it's down, such as now, you can still reach me in other ways. Twitter. My Twitter handle is @thetechnobabble. It's actually right underneath my name down there. So you can also reach me at thetechnobabble_podcast@gmail.com. That's another way to reach me if you want. But I prefer Twitter because I read Twitter all the time.
Sure.
And it's easier to get a hold of. And one more new thing, I'm on Patreon right now. So if you guys want to help out and find out more about what my Patreon is about, I'd love for your support. You can head on over to Patreon and search Technobabble. It's actually patreon.com/Technobabble Podcast. So if you guys could do that, that would be great.
It looks like we've got two questions.
Okay, go ahead, shoot.
First, which is, it appears to be coming from Faylord. Faylord says, hey guys, Daredevil versus Batman. Who wins?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's got to be, and now I know I'm going to take shit for this, but Batman, of course. Like, Batman's, in my opinion, the smartest superhero, the most intuitive, and he has a lot more gadgets. Plus, Daredevil's blind.
I would be inclined to agree that I believe Batman would win in that situation, due to the fact, with all things considered, Daredevil does have a lot of finesse in combat. He has the incredible increased hearing, which is awesome. That's great for him. But he has limited training. Batman is basically the paramount of human intelligence and physical capability. He's trained to the duration of his entire life to go about his lifestyle, as I'll call it, as the Batman. Daredevil has a lot of promise. He has a lot of premise. He's very strong. He's quite capable. But I just don't think he's on the same level as Batman. That being said, I do believe that Daredevil has a keen edge over the top of him, which kind of makes things difficult for Batman. But at the same time, Batman isn't going to go into a straight 1v1 fight. He's going to play from the shadows. He's going to use that to his advantage. It just so happens that Daredevil can see in the shadows. You know, he can hear things. So
right, there you go.
Yeah, so it comes down to I guess not so much who would win in a fight. It comes down to their settings. Is it what if they're fighting in a room that's completely devoid of sound? Daredevil gets wrecked every time.
Well, you know what? You guys haven't done a D20 debut on Daredevil yet, have you?
We actually have not done Daredevil.
You should do Daredevil, and then we should do like a little one shot where Daredevil fights Batman.
Oh no, like a celebrity death battle. Goodness. Yeah. We'll see what we can do. We actually have another question here from E-Man Caves. Who are better dancers, zombies or robots?
Oh man, that's a good question. I always like the John Travolta robot or whatever. I can't do it. You know that's to me like that always makes me laugh. Zombies, I don't really think they're dancing. You know, it's more like they're sauntering. Like they're robots. That's my answer for sure.
I think my answer is zombies. While I think robots can really cut a little rug and they're quite keen on their precision with their moves, zombies are more fluid. If there's one thing that I've seen in Thriller, that horde of zombies, they can boogie, man.
That's actually a good point. You may have just convinced me to change my answer. Actually,
they can cut some serious rug. Those guys have serious fluidity. They engage in group activity. Man, they're talented. You can tell that either in their previous lives or in their current lives, they're definitely backup dancers for someone.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. I completely forgot about Thriller.
Xanderdark says, "Hey, Bubbernaut and Kirk, Goku or Superman?" I feel like this is weighted in some weird directions.
Well, I'm gonna add. What's your answer first, Bubbernaut?
Man, all things considered, I think people always give it to Superman due to a lot of his abilities. I mean, he's the pinnacle. You know, he is the pinnacle of super ability. But Goku can just choose not to fight because Goku's like, guess what? I'm in a new planet. And that's just.
But doesn't Superman have that same sort of like he's got super speed, right?
Yeah, he's got speed, but he can't do anything in space. Goku just goes where he like if he's been to a planet, he's just like, all right, I'm there now. Instant transmission. I'm at another place. So I know that a lot of people have seen that there's videos and celebrity death battles and a lot of speculation of who would win, but I'm going to go on the fence on this one because I don't entirely know.
Right.
I don't entirely know.
I feel like if they were both limited to a planet that was to Earth, okay, right? If it was a battle on Earth, right, and that was like the arena, then there's no way that Superman can lose. And I'm a huge Superman fan. Like Superman, I know a lot of people hate Superman or they think Superman's overpowered or that's such an easy guy to pick. But man, I just remember growing up, like Superman was the only hero that ever really that meant a lot to me. And anyway, I love Superman. He's got everything going for him. He's got the super strength, the things that come, the laser vision. He can see through women's shirts. Like Superman has everything that that's admirable to me. So, and plus he's strong as hell. And I think on Earth he would beat Goku.
You think on Earth he would beat Goku?
I do.
Everybody always assumes too that you can just take Kryptonite and Superman. There's actually a few canon comic book lines such as Kingdom Come, where as Superman ages, he grows stronger, and under the intense UV rays of his location that he stayed for 10 years, in Kingdom Come in the comic book line, he's actually completely resistant to kryptonite. He can no longer be affected by kryptonite. And the only thing that can actually affect him is magic, pure magic. And there are only a handful of people in the DC world that can use magic. Shazam is one of them. But even Shazam would not really fight Superman at his absolute pinnacle, at his fullest capacity and strength. But I don't know, man. That's a weighted question. It's tricky all the way around.
Well, I think Faylord from chat actually answered it best when he said that in the end, Goku would just try to throw Superman into the sun, but that's where he gets his power. So Goku is done for.
Likely, yeah. That's probably. I mean, they can both die. See, that's the thing, is they can both die, but Goku can die by a bullet, whereas then Superman can't. Each of them have their own weaknesses to a degree. We'll take a couple of more questions here before we move forward. Let's see what else we have. What is your idea about this new Superman versus Batman movie from Thunder DK74?
I haven't seen a whole lot of trailers for it. I mean, I've heard people talk about it, but the fact that it's got Batman and Superman in the movie, even though Ben Affleck is playing Batman, which is going to be fun to watch. I am looking forward to it. I don't have any opinions yet on whether I think it's going to be good or bad, because first of all, I believe I should at least wait to pay the money and go see it before I criticize it if I'm going to. But if it's got Superman and or Batman and or both, you can bet that I'm going to be there. And I'm hoping for a good movie. But that's really all I have to say about it so far.
I think he's got the chops. Okay, everybody is giving Ben Affleck hell. Okay, and this is the thing, because everybody's used to seeing the Ben Affleck Matt Damon combo, and in the last couple of years, Matt Damon has gone off to do his own thing. Ben Affleck has gone off to do his own thing. And we've seen that Ben Affleck is actually capable. He's not some bumbling fool that's sitting in oh my goodness, well, what is that Matt Damon film where he's the janitor that's super smart?
If you hadn't told me, I could. The only thing I don't know. Well, do you remember? Does anybody know? If you know, let us know, because I can't think of it either.
I can't think of it either. But everybody is used to seeing him kind of like that cheeky ass that's like trying to con people, and that's kind of like a playboy, and they're always together. And I don't actually think
Good Will Hunting.
Thank you, Xander. Everybody is. I feel like they think that that's going to be Ben Affleck dressed as Batman, and it's going to be that same character. And I don't think that's it. I don't think that's the case. He's got the chops. He's a director. He's bulked up. He's put on all of the appropriate weight. I feel like he can actually do this. And
I think you're right, though. I do.
People that they gave shit to earlier on when Heath Ledger was signing up to be the Joker, they're like, Heath Ledger? You mean that one guy that's played in all those like teenage movies? That one guy that did like A Knight's Tale? I don't think he's got the chops. I don't think he can pull off a...
Not to mention Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah. I mean, just like all these things. And when he came into film as the Joker, the world erupted. People lost their minds.
He was really, honestly, excuse me, I thought Jack Nicholson was a great Joker, and he still is probably among the top, but I don't think we'll see a performance of the Joker at the top Heath Ledger's for a long time.
I mean, I don't know. We've got Jared Leto, man. Jared Leto's coming out in Suicide Squad as the Joker.
You think he's going to be better than Heath Ledger?
I don't know. I'm not going to say either way, but I think that he's also got the chops. I mean, Jared Leto has gone out of his way to bulk up, put on weight, and lose weight consistently for each role that he takes on. Now, Jared Leto is regarded by a lot of people as very pretty. He's very, very man pretty. He's almost with his beard and the way that his hair is, he's borderline lumber sexual, which is it's a term that's trending right now in America. You should check.
Kind of like myself, I must say.
Oh yeah. And he has cut his long locks down to just a few inches, dyed it that intrepid green that we're so used to seeing, and he's completely shaved his beard. And he looks like he's kind of like he's got this vividness to his eyes that always makes him look borderline maniacal, which is great because that is exactly how it's idealized in the Joker. But I mean, not to get off topic, I just think that people they discredit actors from what they're capable of doing, and they
get cast typed a lot.
Well, yeah, they get typecasted a lot, and that's totally fine. But I think people need to ease up a bit. I think people need to reel it back in and realize that these guys are professionals. They're capable of doing it. Let's just see if they're directed the appropriate way. Thank you, Nathaniel. I'll take that. I am in fact bisexual.
Well, no, you hit the nail, I think, on the head right there. And again, I don't want to try to get too far off topic, but I think an important director is as important, if not, it's at least as important as the actor portraying the part. Because I mean, for example, we all know I don't know if you guys are anybody's a Kevin Smith fan, you've probably heard this story where like Kevin Smith idolized Bruce Willis growing up, right? Like and when he finally got to work with Bruce Willis, like, you know, Bruce was, according to Kevin, Bruce was just one of those guys that were really hard to work with, and ultimately was just kind of a dick, you know. So, but the director / actor relationship really has to be there, and when that is there, you can definitely see it on film, I think.
You definitely can, and you know, it's funny that you say that, because when you look at them separately, they consistently say it's like he was all right. He was all right. Like, they don't want any bad blood. There is no bad blood there. But Kevin Smith will tell you that he was incredibly difficult to work with, and Bruce Willis will say that Kevin Smith was completely whiny the entire time.
Well, that's Kevin Smith, though. He whines.
Like that's the thing. He whines. He gets a lot of things. Yeah. He finishes a lot. He
gets off what's on his chest.
Yeah, he's not going to just like bundle it up and explode over Twitter or places like that. He's just gonna get it all out in the open right there. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. I feel like, getting back to the topic at hand, I feel like Ben Affleck's got it. I think he's got it. I don't really know so much about the guy who's playing Superman. I feel like he was.
Yeah, I don't know much about this guy either.
I feel like his role of Superman wasn't necessarily, I guess lackluster is not the appropriate term. I don't think that he played it as well as he could have. I don't think he failed, but I don't think he played it as well as he possibly could have. And I'm eager to see more out of him. Ben Affleck, I'm sitting right now on a positive side because I think he's capable. I'm just waiting to see what he drums up on screen.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant movie. I think people have been. I mean, when I first saw the teaser trailer, however long ago it's been, I thought it was one of those fake teaser trailers.
Sure.
I'm like,
yeah.
there's no way, right?
Yeah.
But and then they started like saying, oh, well, Ben Affleck's playing Batman. I'm like, okay, I know this is a joke now. But the more it's starting to become a reality, I'm actually really looking forward to it. And again, I think it all piles down to the producers and the directors and of course the writers. If they can, I think there's a great story and a great movie to be made. I just hope they make the one at least close to the one that we're all kind of hoping for.
Yep, I think that's really it though on questions, man. I think everybody else is just kind of in agreement, or they're arguing with what we're saying right now, which is good. I like that. I like the spillback. Common wants to know if there's going to be a D20 modern game. I'll do the best I can, Common. We'll see what comes up in the future, buddy.
All right, well, looks like that's it, guys. All of you guys that made it here to see the live show, thank you very much. This is something we're going to try to start doing more regularly, and we'll keep you posted on that in the future. Once again, Bub, thanks for hosting the content, and thanks for being a part of the show, man. It was awesome.
Not a problem at all.
We already gave our little shout outs, so that's going to be it for the day. If you guys missed part of the show, or if you guys got some friends that you want to let them hear what we talked about, I'm sure Bub will be uploading. It's a tongue twister. I'm sure that Bub will be uploading the VODs here soon, and you can check that out. Or next Tuesday is when I release my next podcast. It will be released. In an audio format. And if you missed the podcast that we released this morning, go check it out. I talked to Van Ryder Games. He's got a cool new solo card game called Hostage Negotiator. So if that sounds really cool to you, go listen to that podcast now. But anyway, thank you guys. I'm Kirk.
And I'm Bub.
And until next week, make sure just do the things that make you happy, guys.
This concludes the Technobabble Podcast. If you would like to leave feedback, please send us an email to thetechnobabblepodcast@gmail.com, or feel free to reach out to us via Twitter @thetechnobabble. Thanks for listening. See you next time.